top line at figure 8 is a clarinet in A, going on a G, down to an F sharp, down to an F natural, and down to an E. So you just got this do-do-do-do, this falling chromatic motif, or a descending chromatic motif there. Big arpeggio up in the piano, and then figure 9. What's the piano doing, Matthew?
I don't know. Is it like what the trumpets have just done?
Yeah, exactly right. So figure 9, you've got S2A on the trumpets on the piano to begin with. So just to there is your S2A for those 2 bars and a beat. And then it answers itself with S2B, and the piccolo joins in as well with the S2B at the top there. And then we get S2A1 as an answer, which is over the page for you. So S2A1 as the answer, over the top just there.
Where's that to?
S2A1. At the start of page 71, the first 2 bars in the piano.
And it's what? Sorry.
S2A1. The only difference between S2A and S2A1. S2A, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. The A1, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bum. It's got those 2 semiquavers in there on the second upbeat. Then, something slightly strange happens, in that we have 6/8 in the top line of the piano, but he changes, and it's that black smudge there on your copy, so it's not clear. That's actually a 2/4 there. So he brings the left hand of the piano into 2/4, whilst the right hand stays in 6/8. So again, the pulses stay the same, but one hand is now playing in simple, one hand is playing in compound. So we have S2C over the top for 2 bars, S2C over the top in the right hand, and then we have S2D carrying on as well, just how we've seen it before. You then have S2C1, ba-da-da-dum, turn the page over for you, you're in the right place. S2C1, which is the first bar of 72, that's S2C1, just there. And then an S2D to answer it. So that there is then an S2D in the piano. So we've had all the material introduced by the brass, and then we've had all of it played by the piano. Because that's all it does at this point, it's just stating it. He'll develop it later and he'll play around with it again in the recap. But here, it's just told us how it is in 2 formats. Make sense so far? There's a lot of letters here, there's a lot of little codes, but as we go through the movement and we refer back to it, it will become more familiar to you. So, figure 10, trumpets, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bum. Have we seen one of those before? Up there, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bum.
S2A1.
So that's an A1, because it's just the second half of S2A1. A1, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bum. And then gradually over the end of this line and down into the next line, so bar 110, we have these 6 bars of kind of sinking chromatic chords. Kind of the harmony all shifts downwards, which is jazz influenced and similar to how Gershwin used to write. We do know that Ravel had been influenced by Gershwin. So this is at bar 110, we have these 6 bars of jazzy feel with this descending chromatic harmony. And then we get to figure 11, which is the codetta. Figure 11 through to figure 14. So repeated chords in the wind and brass. Bum, 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 bum. Not very exciting at all. Repeated detached quavers. And a descending scalic passage, because it's not a direct scale, but a descending scalic passage in the piano for 4 bars. It's just up there, descending scalic passage in the piano. Now, as we're in the codetta, there's no new material here. There's nothing that we've heard before. He simply runs us through and kind of gives himself a nice little ending before moving on into the development. So descending scalic passage there, which has a chromatic feel to it, and then works his way down the piano, works his way back up using arpeggios. And again, chromatic arpeggios based on chromatic notes. There's no obvious discernible pattern up. So arpeggios back up, which are chromatic. We have a reminder then, so that's that chord and the 3 chords coming after it, of figure F. So the chord at the end there on the piano and the 3 chords after it. So a reminder of figure F. Based around the dominant. So at figure 11, we're in E major and we're centred around E major. Doesn't mean it's going to sound as a normal E major, but he's basing his material on E major here. So we get to the dominant there, it's going to be B major.
Where's this?
This is at the start of that figure F reminder, which is 120,
Okay.
21, 22, 3, 124.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
And that takes us on to figure 12. So very chromatic, decorated again by the piano, but no new material. So it's these kind of just leaps all the way down and then arpeggios all the way up. And if you think how short subject 2 was, this actual coda, when you look at it, is actually longer in terms of how many bars he uses and how long it takes him. But it is literally just a link from the end of subject 2 into the development and for him to move through some keys. So we arpeggio all the way up, and we have another figure F. At 140, there. So another figure F at just before 140. D in the piano, D. Just before you've gone too far.
Oh yeah.
Top of that page. Figure F there. So figure F there, and then bottom line, again, chromatic scalic passage. Now, at this point, it's figure 13. So at this point, from here to the start of the development, he does circle his way through a lot of keys to get into where he wants to be. So it's similar to the cycle of fifths, where you land in one key, count to 5, go to the next, count to 5, go to the next, count to 5, go to the next. So it's similar to the cycle of fifths. So at 13, figure 13, for those first 2 bars, we're in a G sharp half diminished chord. So it's a G sharp chord with a D natural in it. It's a G sharp half diminished at 13 and the second bar of 13. The third bar then is C sharp major 7. Third bar is C sharp major 7. And the fourth bar is F sharp minor. Top of page 76, first 2 bars, B half diminished. So we can see how he's moving a fifth each time he changes his chord here. That's for 2 bars, so top of page 76, 2 bars of B half diminished. And then we have the next bar, just the next bar of E major 7. and the next bar of A minor, and then we land on a diminished seventh on C. So it's there that the idea of a circle of fifths breaks, but he's used it to travel through lots and lots of different chords as he's building up to this development. We then reach 152. The piano's gone higher and higher and higher till 152 when he lands in E flat major, which is the key he's going to base his development in. And after this big build-up, the piano literally falls quite far down in an arpeggio off the E flat major chord, so it's an E flat chord there. We reach figure 14, and it's the development.